In today's NFL, it's rare to see serious injury news fly under the radar. But that's exactly what's happened with Denver Broncos safety PJ Locke, and now, it's time to shine a spotlight on it. Locke reportedly underwent offseason back surgery, a procedure that wasn't widely publicized, but could have major implications for his future. The details? He dealt with deterioration in the L4 and L5 vertebrae, a serious issue near the spine's base, often affecting mobility and nerve function. It's the kind of injury that can end careers or demand a total transformation to survive in this league. But Locke didn't back down. 5 months post-surgery, he confidently stated that his back is feeling great. That's encouraging, no doubt, but Broncos fans still have a pressing question. How did this impact his 2024 performance? And what does it mean for 2025? With a defense built on speed, aggression, and relentless pressure, every piece of that secondary matters, and Locke's role is no exception. If he's truly healthy, Denver keeps a vital piece in their defensive puzzle. But if the injury lingers beneath the surface, it could open the door to unexpected changes in the rotation. This story isn't just about a player recovering. It's about a battle-tested safety trying to hold his ground in one of the most punishing leagues on earth. Back injuries are no joke, especially when we're talking about bone-on-bone pressure in the spine. That kind of pain? It's relentless. Imagine trying to backpedal, plant, and explode toward a receiver when your lower back feels like it's grinding itself apart. It's a nightmare scenario for any athlete. So hearing that PJ Locke is recovering, pain-free, and even calling it a miracle, that's a massive relief, not just for Broncos fans, but for anyone who respects what these players go through. Love or hate a team, no one should ever wish injury on a player. These guys put everything on the line every snap, not just for glory, but to provide for their families. Locke said himself that 5 months after surgery, he feels better than he has in a long time. No pain, he shared. Even the small aches I do feel are nothing compared to what I went through during the season. For him, this recovery has been a breakthrough, a moment he says he's been praying for. But once you hear that, one thought naturally comes to mind. How much did this injury really affect his 2024 season? Let's be honest, his performance last year wasn't what fans expected. While some pointed to a lingering toe injury, it's now clear the back issue likely played a major role. Pain limits movement, explosiveness, and confidence. 3 things a defensive back cannot function without. And in a crowded and competitive Broncos secondary, every rep, every snap, every assignment counts. If Locke was battling through that kind of pain, it changes how we evaluate his season, and it reshapes how we look at Denver's defensive back depth heading into 2025. Now that the truth about PJ Locke's back injury is out, the picture becomes a lot clearer. The Broncos weren't in the dark. In fact, back in January, they honored him with a team award recognizing perseverance through injury. At the time, most assumed it was due to that minor toe issue. But now we know the reality was much more serious. A damaged spine isn't just a football issue, it's a life issue. We're talking about long-term mobility, daily movement, and the ability to simply live pain-free. When a player risks that to stay on the field, that's grit, that's sacrifice. But now comes the real question. What does all this mean for PJ Locke's role in 2025? Heading into this season, Denver's secondary is shifting. The team brought in some key free agents in 2024. One in particular had a strong campaign and made his presence felt in the rotation. That naturally puts pressure on everyone else in the defensive backfield, including Locke. So where does he fit? Is he returning as a starter? A depth piece? A veteran voice in the locker room? These are the kinds of roster questions that will shape the Broncos' identity in 2025. But one thing is certain. If Locke is fully healthy, truly past the pain, then this defense just got one of its toughest warriors back. There's no sugarcoating it. The Broncos' safety room got a lot more competitive. In 2024, Denver added Brandon Jones, who had a breakout season after arriving from Miami. And in free agency, they made a bold move by signing Talanoa Hufanga, one of the most instinctive, hard-hitting safeties in the league. With talent like that coming in, the questions surrounding PJ Locke isn't just about health anymore. It's about fit. According to Sports Illustrated, Locke struggled to carry his 2023 momentum into 2024. Yes, he was a starter at one point, stepping in when Kareem Jackson was suspended. But things changed quickly. Justin Simmons, his safety partner during that stretch, wasn't there last season. In his place stood Brandon Jones, and the results spoke for themselves. Jones flourished. Locke, meanwhile, struggled, especially in coverage. Let's be real. Even without the back injury, Locke isn't at the same level as either of the two new additions. Jones brings more range and better coverage instincts. Hufanga is a heat-seeking missile, aggressive, explosive, and disruptive on every snap. That puts Locke in a tough position. So here's the hard truth. What exactly is PJ Locke's role in 2025? He's not the best cover safety on the roster. He's not the most physical either. So unless he finds a niche, whether it's on special teams, in sub-packages, or as a situational veteran, he could be the odd man out in a crowded and upgraded safety room. The talent around him has risen. Now, he has to prove he still belongs. The Broncos' safety room has become a battlefield, and PJ Locke may be the one caught in the middle. With Brandon Jones and Talanoa Hufanga offering completely different, yet complementary skill sets, it's clear that Locke is no longer a centerpiece in this unit. At best, he projects as a rotational or depth piece, and the competition keeps getting tougher. In 2025, the Broncos also signed Sam Franklin Jr., a special teams ace with proven versatility. And with names like Devin Key in the mix, this secondary is stacked top to bottom. There's no room for hesitation. If you're not playing at your absolute best every snap, you're getting left behind. That's just the brutal reality of life in the NFL. And with this much talent already in the building, Locke's future in Denver feels uncertain. He's already being floated as a potential trade candidate. While his market value may not be high, likely no more than a 7th-round pick, moving him would still create value. A post-June 1st trade or release would clear around $4 million in cap space, giving the team additional flexibility. Yes, depth is important. But the Broncos have depth. Real depth. Reliable depth. Guys like Franklin and Key are capable of stepping in right now. Which begs the question, is there still a place for PJ Locke on this roster? At this point, it might come down to more than just performance. It may be a numbers game. And Locke could find himself on the wrong side of it. At this point, the reality is hard to ignore. The Broncos don't need PJ Locke on the roster to field a strong, capable secondary. Yes, he's been dependable. Yes, fans respect the way he's battled through injury. But when you stack him up against names like Talanoa Hufanga and Brandon Jones, the gap in talent is clear. Those guys are starters. Locke, right now, he's a backup at best. Could there still be more in his game? Something we haven't seen because of the injuries? Possibly. And if he's truly healthy now, maybe he can still contribute in those moments when Denver needs depth, when Jones or Hufanga are off the field. But that's a big if. So here's the tough question the Broncos must answer. Should they keep PJ Locke or trade him while they still can? From a football perspective, trading him might be the smart move. Not because he isn't respected, not because he hasn't given everything to this team, but because the roster has evolved, and Locke might simply no longer have a clear role. If a trade nets the team a late-round pick and clears cap space, it's a move worth considering. In the NFL, it's not just about loyalty. It's about fit, timing, and roster value. And for PJ Locke, those factors might be pushing him toward the next chapter of his career, one that may no longer be in Denver.